Welcome everyone to the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. This is another reaction piece. I didn't think I'd be doing this one again so soon. Like literally a week after my last one. Obviously, I talked about the Hulk Hogan scandal. Go back and listen to that if you haven't yet. But here we are, a week later. It's July 31st, 2015, and as of today, this afternoon, we found out the sad news that one of the greatest of all time, WWE Hall of Famer, just absolute legend in the business, Roddy Piper, passed away at the age of 61. I believe the word is now that it was due to complications from cancer. He had Hodgkin's or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I should say. He had that years ago, and it's kind of a surprise because I think we were all under the assumption that he had beat it or that he was on the mend and that he was cancer free. But maybe it just caught up with him after a while. But 61 is pretty young to go. As I did before, I do have a little panel discussion. Joining me once again is from Chronocord.com is Cory Wilson. Also from, also a high school buddy of mine. He's a coach over at Beachbody. Lifelong wrestling fan, Chad Radosevich. And joining us for the first time tonight is a musician and comedian, a really good friend of mine, Brian Connolly. Gentlemen, welcome.
Greetings.
Good to be back, Jack.
Very cool. Cory, obviously you're the historian of the group. Now, I mean, obviously, you're probably more aware of Roddy Piper's early history than any of us. We know that he was, contrary to popular belief, he was not from Glasgow, Scotland. He was actually born in Saskatchewan, Canada, and he's most certainly not Scottish, even though he portrayed that to be. What do you know about his early life and his career?
Well, as you said, Piper was born Roderick Toombs in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. He, as a young man, kind of had a fallout with his father and had a rough childhood. He spent a lot of time in youth hostels, and he picked up a lot of, just weird little jobs and stuff to kind of keep himself afloat. He was quite the proficient bagpiper, actually. Piper played all the way up, for many, many years, I assume, for being a young man up until just a couple years ago. Piper got his start after a short stint as a boxer. I think he competed Golden Gloves in Canada. He was trained by Gene LaBelle, who was a very, very famous Hollywood. He did stunts for people. He trained Bruce Lee. He trained Chuck Norris. Judo Gene LaBelle is an absolute legend. So Piper always.
And now, Cory, didn't Judo Gene LaBelle? Didn't he also have a hand in training either Brian Danielson, and Ronda Rousey?
Absolutely. The list of people that Gene LaBelle trained over the years includes those names you listed, as well as Roddy Piper, and I mean just a complete list of Hall of Famers in various categories, from movies to MMA to martial arts, pro wrestling, you name it. But that was basically Piper's into the business, was with Gene LaBelle. He got trained, and he made his debut in Winnipeg against the grandfather of current WWE competitor, Curtis Axel. Larry the Axe Hennig, of course, the father of Mr. Perfect, which makes this news all that more tragic that Larry the Axe Hennig, thankfully, is still with us at 79 years old. But the guy that Piper debuted in the business against at age 15, man, still here, and Piper's gone. It's a real tragedy. But yeah, Piper made his debut at age 15. He came out to the ring playing the bagpipes, and he didn't really have a name, so the ring announcer called him Roddy the Piper, and that eventually kind of morphed into Roddy Piper.
Right.
Piper spent a lot of time pretty much in every territory.
Right. I'm seeing here right now that he's from his first year in 73, I want to say he was in the AWA, then went into NWA, then Georgia Championship Wrestling, Mid Atlantic, and finally in '84 was when he went up to New York when he went to work for the McMahons in WWF at the time.
Yeah, that's true. Piper did spend time elsewhere in other territories. I mean, basically, you go back and name any territory in the between the 1960s and the end of the territories in the mid 80s, and Piper went to almost all of them. He really got his first big start with Don Owen in the Pacific Northwest, and really, I know that Piper always credited Don Owen as really giving him the boost that set up his success later with the NWA Jim Crockett Promotions, Georgia Championship Wrestling, and all that, and of course led to Piper coming to the WWF once Vince McMahon Jr. took over and becoming really one of the key components of the rise of the company that we see today. I mean, let's be frank here, guys. Without Roddy Piper being the trash-talking villain that all of us love to hate, Hulkamania would have meant nothing. There would have been no WrestleMania. There would have been no WWE. I mean, it could have existed as a small Northeast company, but I firmly believe that Roddy Piper is somebody who has earned the respect of saying that without him, there would be no WWE.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the greatest villains in the history of professional wrestling, no doubt. I mean, he also had runs as a babyface as well. Chad, what were some of your favorite memories of Roddy Piper growing up?
Growing up, I don't remember. I remember him being a popular wrestler back in the early 90s, and he would, come to the ring with the bagpipes and, the kilt. Like, he was just a different type of wrestler. But the most memories I have of him is when it was later in his career when he came back and he was in WCW and he took on, he rivaled Hulk Hogan again. And I had to go back and watch WrestleMania 1, like what was this rivalry about? Because I didn't see it when I was little. I started watching wrestling around WrestleMania 6 when, I was a huge Ultimate Warrior fan.
Right.
When he was fighting Hogan. But that's the only, my main memories of Piper is in WCW in his later years. And
that's right. I did forget to mention that, of course, later in his career, towards the mid-90s throughout like 2001 or something, he was in WCW.
Yeah, and it was entertaining. He challenged Hulk Hogan in the NWO. Nobody could really challenge him up until that point. And those matches, I think he beat him. I think he won it was kind of like a bad ending, though. He won in a headlock. I don't know, Cory, do you remember that when it was,
Yeah, I do. That was, I believe, Halloween Havoc and then Starrcade 1996.
So he won the belt there, right?
No, see, that was the big disappointment is Hogan was the champion at the time, and they promoted the match. They were careful about it. They never said it was for the title. Mm-hmm. But everybody kind of assumed, and popular, thought going into it was, hey, the title is going to be on the line, of course.
Was that was that the leading up to where Piper he stayed a week in Alcatraz and prepared for that match? Was that the one, or
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, those were some awesome promos.
Yeah, that was intense, and he always brought it 110% when he got in that ring and got on that mic. You had his attention, and he's going to be definitely missed in the wrestling world.
Definitely, Brian. I know you're never one who's at a loss for words. What do you think of Piper as a character on the mic? I mean, there was nobody else like him.
Yeah, as somebody who's usually not at a loss for words, I am kind of in a state of disbelief. Piper was one of my top 3 growing up. Everybody, was all about Hogan, but I always liked the heels growing up. I liked Piper. I like Savage, and I like DiBiase. Sadly, Piper, Savage, and Warrior, are no longer with us. Those are three of my all-time favorites as well. Piper was actually voted by WWE as the number one bad guy of all time a few years ago. That's a pretty huge, of all the guys along the years that have been heels and villains and hated. Piper's up there along with Bobby Heenan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy to me, and I think we kind of touched on this earlier. I mean, to my knowledge, he's never won like a world title in WWE or WCW. That's just mind-boggling to me.
No, Piper was.
Yeah, he never won a world title, but he did win. He won the Intercontinental title in 1992, which was huge. I was marking out when I was a kid.
Oh yeah,
he beat the Mountie.
Yes, the Mountie at the Royal Rumble 1992.
Yeah, and that they made such a big deal because it was the first title he had ever won, and it was so far into his career.
Yeah, and then I think he also had a U.S. title run in WCW.
Yep.
That's crazy. You would think, I mean, he would have more title runs or something, but I mean, I guess, sometimes when you're so over, it doesn't really matter, obviously, but it's just...
Yeah.
Piper's never needed a title.
Absolutely.
It's just that was just always odd to me, and obviously he had a career as an actor as well. Outside of that, he appeared in I think John Carpenter's They Live.
They Live is amazing. Everybody should watch that movie tonight if you've never seen it.
Absolutely.
By far.
I've never seen it. Of course, I've always heard that catchphrase. I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Oh, we're all going to do Piper impersonations next.
We could have a Piper off if that's what
it
comes to. That sounds
a pipe off.
Wow, that sounds just nasty. Anyways, let me bring it back around.
Sorry,
no, but yeah, I mean, I know he did They Live. He did a couple other movies.
Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah.
Wow. What is that about?
Everybody say it all together now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw that one.
And then, of course, Piper also had his, Jack, I know you're a fan of this, his 1992 or 93 hit single, which apparently actually did chart over in Europe, I'm Your Man, which was just a fantastic piece of music.
Oh, wow.
I'm not even aware of that little tidbit of information.
It's definitely on YouTube. Go out there and everybody check out for a good laugh.
Oh yeah. It's really
it's definitely pretty bad, but I think Piper said as much himself. But yeah, man,
I do love
is
the
a rough
song
one.
For Everybody.
There's another one. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Which is pretty obvious that he was trying to say something besides for.
Yeah, apparently there was actually a song, like that was a cover of an actual song that
what a
Piper
great
just
album. Great album. That
awesome album.
Top to bottom.
Yeah.
Loved it.
All right. But, I mean, I might have to look that up on YouTube and add that into the end of this when I post this finally. Just put it in there and post because that just sounds that just sounds incredible. I don't know if I can legally do that, but we'll see. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, he also had a lot of TV roles as well. I know he, more recently he was on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I was just about to mention that, man. He was amazing in that episode.
And he was also on one of my favorite shows growing up, Highlander in the 90s. He was on that show, and to his credit, I saw him on the episode he was in, and it's just I didn't even recognize him at first. He spoke differently, he looked differently. It's just you would have never recognized him seeing there. So that kind of says something about, maybe he had more acting chops than people gave him credit for.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude had a fantastic range.
Oh yeah.
From hyper crazy to super calm and much like Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
It can just be, scary, evil, or just be one of my favorite promos of all time from him is at WrestleMania 6. Right before he faced Bad News Brown, and he was painted half white, half black.
Yeah, that's...
Talk about being controversial, man. Way before the days of this Hogan stuff.
Right. Right.
Piper was doing stuff back then in the year 1990 is unbelievable. It's unheard of.
Yeah, he's... Piper is a lot like that crazy uncle that everybody has.
Absolutely.
He's going to say some outrageous stuff, but you love him anyway because he's just so charming. And it's like, oh, come here, dude. Let me buy you a drink. It's okay. He's so cool. Nobody cares.
Yeah, and I mean, I've heard from almost every account that Piper was one of those people who went really above and beyond with all of the people who met him, all of his fans, and that he was, always made sure to look you in the eye and make sure that, you knew that you had his attention and that, that he was genuine. And it's like everybody here has said, just with all the stuff that Piper did, he was one of those few guys, like Hulk Hogan, Andre, Stone Cold, The Rock, that really transcended pro wrestling and became a pop culture icon. And Roddy Piper, man, despite the fact that he's had to take off far too soon, he'll definitely live on in all of his work. He leaves behind a huge body of great work in the ring, on the small screen, on the big screen, and all over, man.
It's crazy. Did you guys, did any of you guys hear anything about him, kind of relapsing or being in poor health, recently? Because I wasn't under the impression that, that he seemed like he was doing fine. TMZ.
Oh, yeah, just to clarify, I saw TMZ had said he died of cardiac arrest in his sleep, and I'm pretty sure it was not cancer related because he was cleared of being, of having non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I think a year or two ago. So I don't think it was cancer related death, just to clarify your statement at the intro there.
Okay, well, I apologize for getting that wrong. Thanks for clearing that up,
it happens. Brian. It happens when, somebody passes away.
Yeah, Brian, you were actually the one who texted me this afternoon about that. You kind of broke the news to me. So
well, yeah, I mean,
shocking.
you were the one that texted me when Randy Savage had died years ago.
Right.
I'm really getting tired of sending these texts out to my friends, to be honest. It never makes it easier.
But I mean, I think that's something we all have to look at, is the fact that, look, I mean, as they say, time slows down for no one, and obviously these guys are no exception. And I don't know if Roddy was like a heavy drug user or I mean, I know he partied a little bit back in the day.
Yeah, him and the Nature Boy were big drinkers back in the day, I believe, but
not like really like hard stuff. I don't, or maybe they did. I don't know. But you take a look at a lot of these guys who are getting up there now, and it seems like they're a lot older than they really are. I mean, I've been listening to Roddy Piper's podcasts over the last year or so, and which were great. I mean, he was just, it's just crazy. I mean, I feel like I've been even getting to know him a little bit more now, listening to these podcasts that he had.
Yeah.
He was doing a great job of it, but he sounded much older than he was, and it just seems like the business tends to age these guys a lot faster.
For sure, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, without question. And I mean, as I touched on earlier, Piper had a pretty rough go of it in life. He never really had it easy, even from a youngster. So
yeah, I mean, he was basically a runaway. He was basically homeless, and he got out.
His documentary is available on the network because I was checking out. I looked up Piper earlier on the WWE network. But if you have a chance to get a hold of his actual DVD set, it's got 2 discs of matches and the Piper's Pit, the classic Piper's Pit promos.
Yes,
and it's definitely worth checking out. It's called Born to Controversy.
Yeah,
and right up until the very end, man, Piper was involved in controversy because one of his last episodes of his podcast got him some heat with WWE and with Stone Cold, apparently. And something happened where they pulled the plug on the podcast. And as of a few weeks ago, WWE had pulled his Legends deal, as far as I know.
Really?
Yep.
So Piper and Hogan, in the last month or so, have both been kind of blacklisted by WWE, or I don't want to say.
That's crazy. I mean, here's what I know about the podcast thing, because I listen, quite a bit to that, and the podcast, which is one of my favorite, episodes of his show, he had Will Sasso from Mad TV, and Sasso's been in a bunch of other movies. He's a hilarious sketch comedian and actor,
and a huge wrestling fan too.
Yeah, absolutely. He obviously, even back on Mad TV, he was known for doing his impression of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah. And so what they did, it was Piper and Sasso. they called Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but like as Sasso called Duggan as Austin. And Duggan didn't know it wasn't really Austin, and they had a whole conversation before revealing it later, and it was absolutely hysterical. And I mean, I don't know why Steve would be offended to that. I mean, the impression had never bothered Steve before, so but I don't know.
Well, and even Austin clarified, I think on his Twitter or his podcast or something like that, that he had nothing to do with Piper's show being taken off the air, but. Also, one of Piper's last things I remember a little bit of controversy was something he said about Pat Patterson when he was younger. He alluded to something he didn't necessarily say, and then he had to clarify his statement later on. Basically, made it. Yeah,
this is one of those crazy things that I can speak on. I actually was watching that interview last night. It was an interview Piper did with Kayfabe Commentaries, a DVD company that any wrestling fan should definitely check out.
Yeah, they're amazing. All of them are really good.
Really, really good. Piper had some comments in there regarding homosexuality that were not so flattering necessarily, or perhaps politically correct.
By the way, I hate to interrupt you, but I learned something I never knew about Lord Alfred Hayes from that.
Oh, yeah.
Really? Give me some details on this.
I feel like it's not worth spoiling. You should go and check out. It's on YouTube. It's definitely on YouTube.
I hate to blue ball the listeners out there, but you guys got to go check it out on YouTube.
I mean,
because
I don't even know about any of this stuff. I need to go.
I can't even hear the words "promotional consideration paid for by the following."
Are you guys trying to kill our entire childhood here? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, no disrespect to the late great Lord Alfred Hayes, but my God, he's in a league of his own now.
Yes, apparently so. My word.
So I mean, so basically, did Roddy say something like accusing Pat Patterson of something, or like, I guess maybe.
Yeah, he referred to his childhood.
Yeah,
because he broke into the business young, so he just said, I was young, and it was like very vague and very like off-putting, and I tried to get him to.
Well, I do know, and I don't know the details behind this because he's mentioned it on his podcast that at some point when Roddy was young, when he was a kid, he was sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know if that was before or after.
Yeah, he never said, who by who. It's nobody's business.
Right.
To begin with, it's personal, it's private. But but then he said without a doubt, at any time did Pat Patterson do anything inappropriate with me. So he had to clear the air, which is very, very bizarre.
Right, and again, I just want to put as a disclaimer to all listeners, I'm just speaking on hearsay. Like, I'm not trying to accuse anything or emphatically categorically state that this is what happened. This is just what I hear. I know nothing, all right? We're all just fans talking here. So please don't take what I say as gospel, and try not to blow up my Twitter feed too bad about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think...
said that.
I don't think people are going to have any problem finding where old Hot Rod stood on basically any topic that they wish. Piper was one of those guys who never held back, and he was a real man's man. He shot from the hip, and he didn't bullshit, and that's one of those old school kind of virtues that maybe are going by the wayside. I'm not really sure, but man. This sucks. It sucks to lose Piper.
Yeah, man. It's a huge loss. Can't be stated enough.
No.
And guys, another thing, I mean, one of the things that is really a credit to Roddy is that, he seems like this outrageous guy. He's going to say stuff, but really, and despite playing a villain for so many years on TV, he seemed like a genuinely good person. He seemed like a family man. He seemed like, just a real salt of the earth kind of guy, and just like, very much into, promoting family values and respect for your fellow man. That seemed like that was the kind of guy he was. Would you guys say that was pretty accurate?
Yeah, man. I have to say he kind of broke some barriers down as being one of the smaller builds for professional wrestlers. Like, probably paved the way for these Eddie Guerreros and CM Punks that came along later on. But that guy, for people to say that you can't be doing steroids your whole career, I don't think that guy ever did steroids.
I highly doubt it.
No, he was a big dude. He was in shape, but he wasn't like a super jacked bodybuilder.
No, but he was the first guy other than Dusty Rhodes to prove that what you look like doesn't matter. It's
right.
It's a microphone in your hand. It's your mouth that's going to bring people into the building.
And how hard you work and all that stuff.
Yeah, man, Piper was definitely a trailblazer.
Absolutely. Well, I know. And CM Punk has said this before, that he wouldn't have become a wrestler had it not been for seeing Roddy Piper as a kid. Well,
yeah, he's actually tweeted something about Piper. He doesn't talk about wrestling very much, but he said
no, he does not.
Another blacklisted guy.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people out there on social media, a lot of wrestlers paying their respects, and a lot of fans. I also saw that the family requested their privacy and everything, so hopefully everything for the Toombs family goes well.
Yeah. I feel horrible for his wife and his 4 kids.
Yeah.
I know his son was on his podcast, Colt Toombs.
Yeah,
seemed like a great guy. He's into MMA now. He was thinking about getting into the wrestling business, although I don't know if he's still pursuing that or not. But Roddy just loved his kids. He loved talking about his kids on his podcast all the time. So he seemed like he been a great dad.
He seemed like he would have been a cool dad for sure to have.
Without question. And
he seemed like he would have been a funny grandfather too. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man.
I think Roddy was one of those guys, like you said, he was a family man. I know that he owned and lived in the same house up near Portland for 20, 30 years with his family, and he was always very careful to keep his family away from the spotlight and stuff, because Roddy was one of those guys who came from back in the old days where people, wrestling fans kind of believed it was real. And, you would have full-scale riots, especially somebody as incendiary as Piper was on the mic. That guy, just to illustrate, he's in California and comes out and on the bagpipes after insulting Chavo Guerrero Sr., comes out and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play the Mexican national anthem on the bagpipes."
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And proceeds to play La Cucaracha. Needless to say, he barely escaped with his life that night, and there were,
he was actually stabbed. Yeah, he's been stabbed by fans, like old ladies back in the day. He survived cancer, he survived all those stabbings, and they died in his sleep, unfortunately, according to what I heard.
Well, it's not unfortunately, because it's not a bad way to go out. At least he wasn't suffering. He went in his sleep peacefully, I hope.
That's true. Yeah.
That's just nuts. It's especially nuts when people argue for kayfabe, and it's like they don't remember that's what it was like back then. People were literally getting stabbed.
Dude,
somebody killed Bruiser Brody.
Yeah. And Piper was never afraid to tell people how much he hated Mr. T.
Oh, no.
Back in the day.
Now, what was the deal with that? Was that a shoot? Did he really hate Mr. T?
Yeah, man, that was real. That was real, genuine heat that they had, because Mr. T needed to be in his own dressing room or something, and he wouldn't ride with the boys, kind of thing. And Piper took extreme exception to that.
T wasn't one of the boys. He was just doing a guest spot.
Yeah, but he was just a movie star, TV star coming in.
T kind of came in, being a star on the A-team, and I'm sure he was always catered to. And he came in there to the WWF expecting to be catered to and to bulldoze over Roddy Piper, and that's not going to happen.
Right.
That's just not going to happen. So I think a lot of Piper's resentment toward Mr. T basically came from T trying to kind of muscle his way into the business and take a piece of that pie that provided for his family.
Right. I could see that.
Yeah.
Does everybody remember Mr. T's Hall of Fame induction speech last year?
I was just about to say that. That was one of the worst speeches I ever heard.
Wow, I really wish Roddy Piper would have come out to interrupt him instead of Kane.
I'm so
that was
happy
fantastic.
I kind of wish he would have come out with a coconut in his hand and just teased it.
I was there, and this is a whole other story. I drove from Florida to New Orleans just for the sole purpose of seeing the Ultimate Warrior.
Wow.
And boy, am I glad that I did, because three days later he died.
Wow, that was...
I didn't even go to WrestleMania. I solely drove just to go to the Hall of Fame and then drove back as soon as it ended. And it was one of those things where I was like, I don't know why I just did that, but I did it, kind of thing. And I never got to meet Piper, man, but he's one of those other dudes I really wish I would have got to meet.
Wow. I love Sting, but I'm not driving across the country to see him when he gets in the Hall of Fame, you know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
that's the level of a fan I was for the Warrior, man. I was
New Orleans
the biggest
yeah. New Orleans isn't that far though to go to.
Nah,
see,
nah.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I mean, it's a good, like, I wish I would have
It's a
known you were
hike,
going. I would have went with you, brother.
Yeah, totally, man. And, I had a hard time finding people to go with me is the weird thing.
Jeez.
I had this extra ticket that this friend kind of just came
I
along
probably
with me.
would have went, I swear. I'm a huge Warrior fan.
Right.
Oh, dude, WrestleMania 6, my parents remember to this day. I threw my hands up in the air because it looked like Hogan was going to win. And I was like, this shit is fake. Is what I said. I was 10 years old.
Wow.
They'll never forget. And then he moved out of the way of the leg drop, and I couldn't stop running around the house afterwards. I was so excited. And obviously, I didn't do that last year at the Hall of Fame like I would have liked to.
Wow.
It was actually pretty tame. I expected to hear something crazy. I mean, I know we're talking about the Warrior now instead of Piper, but
I know.
just all these guys are gone, man, and it never.
I know. They're dropping like flies, brother. What? Like I said last week on the Hogan. Like I hope he still has some life left in him so he can redeem himself. So
yeah, dude, this doesn't need to be his legacy. I'm kind of worried that.
Right.
I was worried about him.
it would remind me of like the whole Joe Paterno thing. Like remember, all his legacy is left to being like this.
Totally. Yeah, they took the statue down.
And and then he died like a couple.
They're gonna say Hogan was never WWE champion.
That's ridiculous. This is just a
okay.
stupid blip.
Yeah, look, guys. Before we segue into that, let's just. Well, you know what? Let's segue into that. It's been a week since this whole thing came out. We still don't really know why it was brought up just now, all of a sudden, after 8 years. That's still kind of a mystery to me.
Maybe nobody knew about it.
Right.
I don't know if you guys heard that Tampa Bay's own Bay News 9 re-released those Nick Hogan jail tapes.
Yep, and he also
why?
Yeah, he also used some pretty inflammatory language in those.
Yeah, man. So it's not an isolated
racial stuff.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken,
Hulk.
yeah, exactly, Brian. He spoke in Carney and said unacceptable word.
What? Oh.
Yeah, dude. So it's really not. It's getting harder and harder to defend.
God damn it, Hulk!
And I wasn't the biggest Hulkamaniac to begin with. I know Jack and I usually clash over this. I was a Warrior guy. He was a Hogan guy. It's weird. Even as a kid, I was like, I don't know. Something doesn't seem right about this guy.
I know.
It's Hogan guy. I don't like.
You say that like it's such a division. Like, oh man, I'm amazed we're friends.
Well, I mean, you're a Creed guy, and I'm a Slayer guy. I don't know.
Well, that's another topic.
You're a William Hung guy, and I'm a.
Well, aren't we all though? Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, she
Absolutely.
bangs. All right. No, getting back to
she bangs.
She does. No, but it seems like. Oh, Jesus. I don't even know what to say about this whole Bay News 9 thing.
Well,
I need to look
I
into
mean,
that.
and that's old news too. So I guess within the last 10 years, he's been, but even, dude, oddly enough, Piper was on TMZ a week ago.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have come to Hogan's defense and saying, like, look, stuff happens. And even Dwayne Johnson said something earlier today. The Rock.
Even WWE legend Virgil. That's how they refer to it.
Brian, aren't we throwing around the word legend a little bit?
Yeah, Piper had words about years ago. I don't know if you guys remember, he popped up in TNA for a hot minute.
Yeah.
And he went off on Vince Russo in the ring and about how legend and icon are being thrown around too much. But, Piper could definitely lay claim to being like one of the few that deserve the title legend.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
There are people who I guarantee, have not watched wrestling in decades who have been tweeting about, Roddy Piper's death because everybody remembers him.
Yeah.
And even Ronda Rousey now, I guess, gets to use the Rowdy title because he gave her permission.
Oh, yeah.
He did.
She
Absolutely.
was sending out tweets, about pictures of her and stuff.
Yeah, they were friends. She was on his podcast
She's
and everything.
She's the new Rowdy one now.
I wonder if she'll wear a kilt to her match tomorrow night.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
You took the words right out of my mouth, man. That's exactly what I was going to say, Chad.
I have zero issue with her using that, man. She's
That'd
awesome.
be cool. That'd be really cool.
That would be such a cool tribute.
That would be.
I like her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's hot.
And she, she'll be fighting as we record this tomorrow night, August 1st. So it would certainly be proper timing for her to do a little tribute, man. I think that would be pretty good.
I see WWE finally put up some kind of video tribute to Piper just a few minutes ago.
That's
I
good.
haven't watched it yet.
Even though they cut him off, sorry.
Yeah, I know, that's true. Yeah,
Well,
and they better do.
To Piper's credit, he didn't N-bomb anybody, so that's
right.
Not really it.
Not that we know of yet. Yeah,
No.
I think they would do that for Hogan. Like, say if Hogan died tomorrow, what would they do? Would they just be like, "Oh, legend wrestler Terry Bollea has passed away"?
He's never worked for us, so we don't know.
They won't use it. They won't use Hulk Hogan. They'll just say Terry Bollea.
No, I mean, if God forbid that happened, I mean, I think, they would have
messed
to
up.
say something.
I think it's worth.
Would they ding the bell?
Yeah, right. 10 times,
whatever it is.
I don't know. I mean, it's just such a crazy thing. I mean,
the real question is, are they going to remove him from the Hall of Fame? Like, that's because they took his name off the website, but they haven't officially announced him, being out. I don't think they've never done that with anybody.
I was hoping this was just weather the storm, Hogan. We'll bring you back at WrestleMania 32. You'll be able to redeem yourself, but for now, we just need you to weather the storm and remove you, for public perception and stuff.
Because if they are thinking about removing people from the Hall of Fame, and a lot of people have brought up Mike Tyson, being a convicted rapist and all, but there's also Sonny. She isn't doing herself any favors recently.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka was never
killed his girlfriend.
Yeah, he was never charged. He was never charged. He was never tried. But
you guys might want to Google Jimmy Superfly Snuka and read up on some of that.
Yeah, read up on his girlfriend Nancy. Not to throw Snuka under the bus or hit him with a coconut here, but
no, but he was one of the first.
He's gonna grab the coconut, gonna cut it in half, and gonna hit him with the coconut. Sorry, I had to do it.
There's probably some others that are in the Hall of Fame that probably shouldn't be.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Coco beware, looking at you.
Yeah, exactly. Brooklyn Brawler next year.
Yeah.
Right.
Another
match. I don't know if you guys remember from Roddy Piper that I liked a lot was the Hollywood backlot brawl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely hoping to mention that.
That was an intense battle in the.
That had the crazy cutaway scenes of the O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
So awesome.
That was topical.
Yes. It was about a year after the fact that WWE had to get that footage in there somehow.
Well, Vince had probably just heard about it the day before, so he's like, we got to put this one in.
Who's O.J. Simpson?
The Juice?
I want to get O.J. to be the special guest ref.
Wait, he did what? But I loved him in the Naked Gun movies.
Yeah. Roddy beat down Goldust so bad he left in a thong and I don't know if you remember that. He was dressed in women lingerie.
It's hard not to forget. I've tried. Piper and Goldust.
Right.
Maybe I don't know.
That's when Goldust was so weird.
Yeah.
But maybe Stardust can feud with Colt Toombs someday. They can revive that feud.
I don't know.
Stardust.
You gotta love it. Yeah, I don't even know where to go from that. We're completely off the rails.
I have a tendency.
But I mean, the podcast was over. That was one of his greatest matches.
Right.
Yeah, actually, what is any greatest matches of Piper's that you can think of?
I'm gonna have to spit one out from the original Starrcade 1983. Roddy Piper versus Greg Valentine in a dog collar match.
Yeah, man, super bloody, super violent.
Those guys beat the shit out of each other. Oh my goodness!
Probably the first hardcore match that I could think of.
It's one of those early ones, yeah. Yeah, right. Wrestling's fake. I'm pretty sure Piper suffered a ruptured eardrum during that match, but
Piper really surprised me at WrestleMania 8 against Bret the Hitman Hart for the Intercontinental title.
That was a classic.
That's probably his best match that I can think of off the top of my head.
I would have to agree with that. That's definitely his best WWF match.
Yeah. I don't know too much about the pre-WWF stuff with Piper, but...
Right. No, I probably would have gone with that because, I mean, honestly, I remember him more as just being a big character than even his work in the ring, which is, I mean, not to disrespect what he did in the ring, but it's just that to me
he's one of those guys where his promos kind of outshine. My first Piper memory is him putting Adriadonis to sleep and giving him the haircut with Beefcake, you know, and then he took off for Hollywood. He came into that match a heel and then left the babyface. Yes. So he could go off and film the movie, but that was a huge moment.
My biggest memory as a kid was, I think, at WrestleMania 5, where he had that segment with Morton Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I still don't know who the hell Morton Downey Jr. is.
He's dead. He's dead, too.
He was a talk show host. He was basically the Jerry Springer of his
There's
day.
Actually there's a good documentary about him on Netflix, or there was.
Yeah.
About because I didn't know much about him myself, but he was like one of these early Jerry Springer shock.
Was that his real name? I mean, was he actually related to Robert Downey Jr.?
No, yeah, I sometimes confuse the names.
And really, they're both
when you
juniors?
said Morton, I was going to correct you and say, you mean Robert Downey Jr.? No.
that would be interesting.
They had Brother Love was involved in that Piper's Pit at WrestleMania. And
by the way, I mean, back in the 80s, what would that appearance have been like? We would just be Robert Downey Jr. and Snuka doing blow in the back,
with Pat O'Brien.
Pat O'Brien.
Got to keep the Pat O'Brien references at hand.
Hi, I'm Pat O'Brien. I can't feel my nose ever.
Let's get some hookers and some blow. What do you say?
All right. So fucking hot. All right.
No, he's Quagmire.
I don't know. I just kind of went into Quagmire. It's kind of the same as my.
Yeah.
So give me a break here. It's kind of like how my Johnny Cash is sort of the same as Mr. Ed. You know, it's kind of all blends together. Well, anyway, so R.I.P. Roddy Piper. He'll be.
I could do my Bill Cosby if you'd like.
Yeah.
Let's hold off on that. Sure.
Yeah.
Don't eat the pudding, whatever you do.
All right. Well, as I said, R.I.P. R.I.P. Roddy Piper. This is our loving tribute to him, apparently.
Yeah, man.
Completely.
This is what Piper was all about chaos, man.
Which was most of his promos, but that's what
they're all over the place.
Very fitting for Piper, man. Piper was, God, the guy was just, he could go off on so many little tangents, and, you know, he was one of those masters. He could bring it all right back around, and in the end, somehow you might sit there and be thinking about, what the hell did he just say? It's like the, just when you thought you had the answers, I changed the questions.
Yeah, he had so
like
many
that.
clever little quips like that, man.
So many, man. Piper was...
And he was hilarious. He was hysterical.
His timing was the main thing. Piper would have those little... you know, those little weird little ticks and stuff that he did.
Do you guys remember...
That was so perfect, man. So perfect.
Do you guys remember a couple years ago? I think it was like WrestleMania 21 or 22, where it's like they just had a Piper's Pit segment with him in Austin.
Yeah.
It was great. Austin walks down to the ring, and he's like, it's like, hey, Steve, I'm Rod. How you doing? Punches him in the face. Austin punches him back, and they're like, oh, okay then. All right. And they just keep talking like nothing happened. Like,
and then Carlito got involved, I think.
Yes.
Spit apple in both their faces.
Right.
Yeah, I miss Carlito, man.
Man.
I gotta bring him back.
He got a damn stone cold stunner, son.
What?
That's not cool.
No, it's not cool.
Yeah.
You coming here with your apple? Is that supposed to impress me? What? So, yeah.
Stone Cold E.T. Have you seen that on YouTube?
I have. It's just ridiculous.
So stupid.
It's recalculous. Anyways, guys, I completely forgot where we were going. Completely fell off the rails here. Which, again, that's what Roddy would have wanted. I would like to think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had something else to say, but I completely. I guess I wanted to point out that a lot of the best talkers seem to be disappearing at an alarming rate. Like Dusty, Piper.
Yeah.
I say Warrior. Most people thought he was.
Yeah,
insane.
I consider Warrior a good talker too.
Warrior was great.
Savage.
He was
all their DVDs had amazing clips of their crazy promos, and like you don't see that anymore.
Yeah,
man.
you definitely don't see
guys
that.
Oh well, I mean everything's so scripted. They don't. Very few guys just go off the rails. I think.
Other than Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is the man right now. On
Bray
the mic.
Wyatt, man, gotta give a shout out to Bray
Wyatt. Wyatt's amazing.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of talent.
Ambrose has been impressing me more and more.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I like Seth Rollins. He's really good.
Yeah,
he's
he's
really
coming together, definitely.
Roman Reigns, not so much.
Well, he
his mic skills need a lot of improvement, but he'll get there. I think he's got a lot of charisma, but in the ring, but he's just on the mic. He's got to bring it better.
Right. I mean, I don't think they really need to have Reigns say too much. It's kind of like Randy Orton, really. It's like he's one of those guys. He probably does better like the less he talks. If that makes any sense.
Like a Brock Lesnar.
He's got that body language. That
at this rate, since all the best talkers seem to be going, Randy Orton will live to be 102 years old.
Hey, man.
Hey, that's all right. He's gonna shit in my bag later. Just kidding.
Wow.
RKO out of nowhere, man.
He'll never live that one down.
I'll notify the papers if I have to.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a few others that are pretty safe, like Sid and Kevin Nash.
Sid's good. Yeah, Sid's alive and well, thankfully. Yeah.
Sid Vicious, yeah, man, still kicking.
Psycho Sid, man.
He was good on
the mic too. He was.
He's still kicking despite that horrific ankle injury.
Yeah, I saw that.
Worst. That is the worst wrestling injury ever.
Yeah. He's comfortable somewhere in a mental asylum in West Memphis, Arkansas.
That's
Psycho Sid.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yes, allegedly, of course. Sid, I know Tennessee isn't far from Arkansas. Please don't come kill me.
Right.
Fucking A, man.
This is great stuff. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this thing. This is kind of like a chance not only for us to put something out there in memory of Roddy Piper, but also for us to kind of talk to each other as friends and kind of like get over this and joke around and laugh a little bit and kind of get through something like that. You know, like I said, it's one of those things when someone you like who's, you know, who you don't know personally, but you know them through entertainment and everything. It's like you feel like you know them, if that makes any sense. So it's
absolutely, man. Yeah, I grew up with these dudes.
Like I said, it's almost like you feel like you lost that crazy uncle.
I actually remember one of the things I was going to say. By you saying that, you reminded me of that. Like I always considered like Gorilla Monsoon like a grandfather.
Right.
Of mine, like growing up in a way. It was weird.
Yeah.
But I thought about the fact that if I go back and I watch like one of those old SummerSlam 1990, Royal Rumble 91, it's Piper and Gorilla Monsoon doing commentary.
That's right.
And it's going to hurt, I think, to listen to that. But I'm probably going to go check it out. And like Macho Man, too. He was part of that commentary team.
That's right.
Piper and Vince McMahon. Oh, what a maneuver.
It's a miscarriage of justice, Jess.
Sensational maneuver.
Yeah.
Yes.
But nah, man, that early commentary, I definitely wanted to point out that Piper, a great wrestler, but amazing commentator as well. Dude.
Oh, no doubt.
Definitely. Awesome. He was fantastic with Gordon Soley down in Georgia Championship Wrestling, and whenever he came into the WWF, he told Vince McMahon, "Give me 5 weeks and a microphone, and I'll get over." And he did it.
Yeah.
Boy, did he ever. Holy shit.
And by the way, guys, before we leave, I just want to clarify one thing for the hot rod. It's not a skirt. It's a kilt.
Right. Yes. Let's make that clear. Once and for all, if we have to.
I almost made that mistake tonight.
It's a kilt. Unless you ask Bobby Heenan.
That's right.
Right. Bobby Heenan would...
a fountain of misinformation.
It's one of the best. Also, the 1992 Royal Rumble, real quick, when Heenan was doing commentary, which is the greatest commentary ever done.
Yes, also featuring Piper.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a moment in the match, because he's rooting for Flair the whole time, Bobby Heenan. And when Piper comes in the ring, he doesn't touch Ric Flair right away. And he's like, "Oh, thank you, Roddy Piper. I always said it's a kilt. It's not a skirt." And then Piper tries to throw out Flair, and he's like, "Oh, you dirty skirt-wearing freak. It's a skirt. It's not a kilt." It's like the highlight of the room.
Oh, yes.
I'd probably give you a good laugh if you go and check it out. I know I'm going to. I'm going to check out all these things, man.
I'm with you there, man.
Oh, yeah. Bobby was hysterical, and Bobby, if you're listening... Yeah, Bobby, if you're listening, get well soon and hang in there. And I know he's hasn't been in good health for many years, but
he's my favorite.
He's thankfully still with us and hopefully enjoying his retirement a little bit. I don't know.
I haven't seen him in like 10 years.
Well, I mean, I know he's being
he still appears at the fan fests and stuff, despite the fact that he's had like that Roger Ebert reconstructive jaw surgery where his face looks really different. The
last time I saw him or heard him talk was on that Ultimate Warrior, the self-destruction.
Well, that was 10 years ago.
That was 10 years ago. So I was like, that's the last time I saw him. I thought maybe he got before then.
They actually put out a Bobby Heenan DVD, and he didn't even appear on it.
Yeah. And Bobby's not really that old. Like, he's like around my dad's age, so it's not,
No, he's like 70, 71.
Oh, so maybe he is a little bit older than my dad is. But
no, Piper was my dad's age, man. They both were born in 54, so it's shocking. And Piper was. You think these guys are old, but they're still young. Anytime they die before 80,
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like we lost Dusty a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. WrestleMania 6, people keep pointing out, over just about half the percentage of the roster is dead.
Yeah.
Which is there's no other sport organization that has that same, a Super Bowl from 1990.
Mm-hmm.
All the players are still with us. WrestleMania 6 and 7, I believe, almost half the roster is and Piper fought Bad News Brown at that one, and they're both dead.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Sad.
Yeah, it is. I mean, something about at least, and hopefully the guys and girls out there in the business today are taking note of this sort of thing. And I mean, look, it's a different time than it was back then. And I mean, the business certainly aged these guys, a lot of these guys, more so than, and it takes its toll. So
I'm still not opposed to an off season, man. These guys don't need to bust their ass every week. Yes. For 3 hours of entertainment that we all kind of take for granted every Monday night. We're just if we just had it every other Monday, I don't think anyone would really complain.
No, I mean, that's one of those things, and I don't know if that'll ever happen.
And
but
Piper got in trouble years ago on HBO for saying that. He called for a union. The guy was always speaking his mind, even if it cost him. He just came back to WWE, opened up his mouth on HBO, and he was with Sean O'Hare at the time, who also, as of last year, is no longer with us.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Piper was always one to make sure to speak his mind and use his position to take care of the rest of the boys. Which was
God bless him for that, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's another thing. More importantly than even speaking his mind, he stood up for what was right or what he felt was right. And I think that's the important thing to take away from this.
You say he fought for the rights of every man.
Absolutely. Well, he was a real Canadian. That's right.
Who was supposedly from Scotland, or
he actually lived in Glasgow. I saw on his documentary. He moved every year of his life in his childhood.
Yep.
So one of the cities he ended up in was Glasgow, Scotland, and Melbourne, Australia, and he jumped all around.
Wow. He never quite nailed that accent, did he?
So he was totally Canadian, man.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I think there's some relation to the Hart family that I'm not.
Yeah, I believe he's like a distant cousin of the Harts.
Yeah.
In some
Roddy always proudly claimed that at the very least. So.
Right. Well, I mean, it's, like I said, I mean, he stood up for the right thing, no matter what happened, to it. And I mean, a lot of guys speak their mind and or at least say they're speaking their mind, but they're just talking a lot of crap.
That guy had no fear of consequences, absolutely not. And I'm wearing my Hot Rod shirt right now, dude. I'm marking out to him. Long live the Hot Rod.
Nice.
Yes.
All right, well, guys, again, thank you again for joining me on this reaction piece. I think we're going to wrap it up here, but before we do, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say, everybody out there, make sure and check out some Hot Rod matches. The guy left behind, as I said before, an amazing legacy, a body of work, not only on, in movies and television and entertainment, but in the ring. The guy was one of the all-time greats. For anybody out there who wants to become a professional wrestler, Roddy Piper's promos are required viewing, and I know, much like Brian's going to be, I'm going to be hanging out here tonight, cracking open a couple beers and watching some classic Piper moments and paying tribute. So, to rip off a little quote from a favorite movie of mine: "Heroes get remembered, but legends never die."
Very nice.
Can't add more than that, man. That's well said.
Definitely.
Very cool. Well, again, thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining me on this. I'll post some other some links to all to whatever you guys would like to promote or anything, and I'm sure I will have each of you back on in some capacity at some point. But I want to thank you guys again for being my distinguished panel for this special edition of the Phoenix Report of the reaction category.
I wish my first appearance wasn't on such a somber note, but I did want to take part in any Roddy Piper discussion, being the huge fan that I was. So thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, Brian. I will definitely. I'm definitely not finished with you yet. We've definitely got some more stuff to talk about.
Yeah, man.
And it's funny. I was like, even earlier today, I was thinking, like, if this was a terrestrial radio show, I would have like Cory as my producer, Brian as like my wacky sidekick.
Hey now.
Yeah. I think you might be onto something there, man. But I can assure you, the pleasure was all mine. Much like
Chad
you,
would
Brian.
do like the sports report or whatever. We'd figure it out.
Yeah, most definitely. There you go. Pleasure. The pleasure was all mine. I hate that it had to be a somber occasion for us all to get together, but hopefully in the future we can get together again on a lighter note and perhaps look back at some of the happier hot rod moments.
I do have to say I feel a little bit better than I did.
Yeah, most definitely.
Good. Well, this is therapeutic for all of us in
totally,
a way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm glad we got to share some memories, share some laughs, and just pay tribute to Roddy Piper. Thank you guys again for coming on, and we will see you next time.